Welcome again, everybody, to the Forest Specialist Series. This is the July 2024 installment, and we have a wonderful presentation for you. I was just looking at some of it, and I'm very intrigued, so I can't wait. My name is Greg Goodland. I'm the Forest Public Affairs Officer. What is my title again? I'm the Forest Public Affairs Officer for the Rio Grande National Forest, and here to welcome everybody and also introduce my co-host with the San Juan Mountains Association. You'll see her listed as San Juan Mountains Association. That's Kelly Defy. We have these Forest Specialist series monthly, and we very much appreciate the folks coming on. We love connecting with the communities, and we sure hope for engagement during the sessions, and the ladies assured us that they'd love to have that. So going a little bit further, I also wanted to mention that our partners on the Arapahoe and Roosevelt National Forests up out of Fort Collins have a similar program called Community Connections, and unfortunately, their program is going right now. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the chat a little bit later. So I'd like to keep this thing going and introduce you again to Kelly Defy from San Juan Mountains Association. She's going to do a little housekeeping for us and have a great show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Greg. So just the typical stuff, we ask you to stay on mute unless you're asking a question, just because background noise can be distracting. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. It's down. If you go down to the bottom, there's a reactions button. You can raise your hand there, or you can put it in the chat. That looks like a little speech bubble, or it might be in the more menu. And the mute button, of course, is down there on that same menu. Let's see, what else do I have to worry about? Oh, we have a door prize. This time round, it's going to be the book. It's called Edible Wild Plants and Useful Herbs, because that is what we're talking about tonight. So if you want to be put into the drawing, go ahead and put your name into the meeting chat. If you want to be on our list, our email list, I send an email out every month to let people know when this is happening and what we're doing. You can send me your email address if you click on the button that says everyone in the meeting room chat and look for the SJMA person. That's me. And you can send it to just me. So I think that's it for the housekeeping. We're doing things a little bit different this time round. I'm actually going to present just a little bit today. So I'm going to share my screen. And since I never do this, I don't know what I'm doing. So give me a minute here.
You got this, Kelly.
Am I sharing yet?
Not yet. Oh, it's coming up now. You're on.
All right, now let's put come on. All right, there we go. So you can just see my presentation, right? Okay, so the ladies wanted me to talk a little bit about the different permits that are available. We're talking about foraging and responsible foraging in the forest. And so one of the things that would be responsible would be to make sure that you are not gathering things illegally. So I just wanted to go through really quickly a little bit of what we've got. We have different permits that are available and kind of different levels. So some things you can gather without needing a permit. Some things maybe you need a permit, but it's a free use permit, so it doesn't cost anything. And then some things, depending on how much you're getting, you might need to pay for some of the things that you might be collecting. And so I wanted to focus just on the products that would be considered like foraging and gathering. So you can pick up pine cones. You can get 50 without a permit, 25 gallons free with a permit. And then after that, you've got to pay a certain amount $1.50 a bushel. And there is a limit, which is 133 bushels. So that's kind of a lot. I don't really have anybody ever come in asking for the paid permit. Usually, if anything, they might get that free permit. Limbs and boughs. This one I get a lot when for Christmas trees, like people like to make wreaths. So you can get 10 free limbs without a permit. And also if you get a Christmas tree permit, you can also get 10 limbs. And then after that, it's $10 a ton, which is a lot. One thing to think about for us here at the Forest Service, our minimum purchase limit is $20. So for example, if you needed some limbs and boughs and you had to pay for them, you're going to need to pay 20 bucks and you're going to get 2 tons. So it's a decent amount, I think. What else? Edible decorative berries and fruits, not counting pinyon. You can get 10 gallons a year per household, or per household per year. And that's the only option you've got. You can't pick any more. There's no paid options for that one. Mushrooms, 10 gallons, and you can get more with the paid permit. Seeds, this includes wildflowers and grasses really, and that's 20 pounds per household per year. That's free. That's a lot of seeds. So I haven't ever had anybody come in and ask for a permit for more than 20 pounds. Plants, we'll do these ones quite a bit. This counts, like you can transplant the small things like small shrubs and things like that with this permit. So you can get transplants. This includes the bulbs, the roots, the leaves, whatever you might be collecting. And I feel like this one might be the one most relevant to what we're going to be talking about tonight. But as you can see, you can get 10 pounds per household per year for free without a permit, then 10 pounds per household per year with a permit. And then of course, 100 pounds at 2 pounds a pound. I did just see Nancy's comment. Yeah, so permits are really for anything that you're going to take off of National Forest Service land. So the berries that you eat while you're on a hike don't count. You don't need a permit for that. Just like you wouldn't need a permit for any wood that you would be using for a campfire. So if you're having a campfire on the Forest Service land, you don't need to have a permit for that. But if you're going to take it home and use it as firewood in your house, then you need a permit for that. So that's the same thing for all of these other things too. If you're going to just be using the cones as kindling in your campfire while you're out camping, you don't need a permit for that type of thing. And then my last one is the pinyon. That's again 10 gallons without a permit, 10 gallons with a permit, and then after that it's 25 cents a pound. So really that, if you have any questions or anything, just call. We can give you any of the information that you're looking for over the phone. We have other options too that don't really pertain to what we're talking about tonight, but you can call me up and ask me about those things too. So yeah, that's really, I didn't want to hang out too much in this because it's kind of boring, necessary, but boring. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn the time to Cari. She is from the SLV Apothecary. She's one of the co-owners, and we've asked her and Dove to come in tonight and share with us their expertise. So Cari, to you.
Hi, yeah. So I'm Cari, and I have a small 1/4-acre farm where I cultivate medicinal herbs. And I have a little presentation. Hopefully we'll be able to go through some plants and some pictures. I do wild harvest. I don't usually wild harvest for mostly I cultivate. I do a little wild harvested for personal use mostly. And I was going to go through the plants that I see a lot, that I see frequently, and that have a lot of medicinal values and a lot of different uses. And I know Greg is going to be pulling up my little presentation I have for you all.
Okay, I was waiting for your cue, Cari. You ready for it?
Yep, I'm ready. And I think that's actually could be the last slide or towards the end. So maybe go back. Yeah, Yeah, keep going back to the beginning.
I told you I
Perfect.
was cheating.
Yeah, there we go. So Infinity Farm is my farm, and the SLV Apothecary is the shop in Alamosa that Dev and I have. We also have local farm food, like local meat and local vegetables and mushrooms and things like that. Um, so if you want to go to the next slide, if you are in Alamosa, come by. We're on 1617 State on the south side of Alamosa. You can also contact us via email. And we also have a website. The website, we're still kind of getting it all together. So maybe calling or email would be good at the moment. And then if you want to go to the next slide. So there's a lot of different wild plants that are also cultivatable. So I was going to talk about some, like this one can be wild, but I also cultivate it. Bee balm monarda, and the Monarda fistulosa is one of the wild monardas that grow. I actually have not found it in the wild, although I do know. Have you found it, Dev, at all in the
No,
wild?
not in this area.
Not in this area, but you have in another area.
Yeah, not that particular one, but another Monarda, yes.
Another Monarda. I've mostly cultivated, but I know that it is one of the wild ones, and it's obviously super beautiful. It's in the mint family, so it's a Lomatia, and it has that square stem, beautiful flowers. The flowers are medicinal. It has like a strong oregano taste, which is really a giveaway for how it's an antiseptic, just like oregano. It's also can be used as like antibiotic, help with colds, coughs. I personally love making hydrosol with it. I load up my distiller and I steam the leaves and the flowers and make like a mouthwash. That's like one of my favorite things to do with it. But it's a great wild spice because a lot of times in the wild it's hard to find like more spicy um, flavoring. So you could use that in like a soup or a stew. And it's also a carminative, it's a stimulant. I really like it for anxiety during the day because it doesn't make me tired or sleepy. It kind of more like gives me energy, but helps with stress and anxiety. So I like to put it in different tea blends with other stress herbs. Like I'll put mint and catmint, holy basil, and it's so tasty. And the tea's gorgeous. It's like these floating pink flowers. So um, one of my favorites. We'll go to the next slide. So yarrow is definitely one of the top plants, not only as far as that I always see, but medicinally, has a lot of uses for wounds, wound healing. Achillea millefolium is the botanical name. Achilles, named after Achilles. We all know Achilles was the soldier who, in the battlefield, would cover himself with yarrow tincture, yarrow leaves, so that he wouldn't bleed out in battle. So it's kind of a cool little story. Greek. There's a lot of Greek herbal stories. And usually if I'm doing the tea, I'll use the flowers, and then the wound blood stopping would be the leaves, and you can do it dry or fresh. Make a poultice and apply it to your wound. It'll stop the bleeding. And then I usually use either marshmallow or another soft leaf that might be around catnip, and then that to actually cover the wound. And it's also really good for women's health, can help with different inflammation problems, arthritis, headaches, pain. Not one that you want to take like every day, just kind of like an occasional herb that like you have pain or bleeding or cramps, or you just every once in a while you throw that in the mix, and especially when you're about on the verge of getting a cold. You really want to drink that yarrow flower tea. And I almost always find it if I'm on a walk. I usually don't harvest it just because I cultivate it and I have so much. But it's a good one, if you do find a big field and there's a lot and you need it, harvest some for your personal use. So, and we'll go on to the next slide. So this one, marshmallow and common mallow. You'll more find the common mallow in the wild. And it has those little nutlets that are just amazing. You can eat the leaves. Mallow sylvestris is the botanical name. Althea officinale is the marshmallow plant. That one you might not find in the wild here, although it's possible. Maybe not in Alamosa, but they're really good medicine, the root for stomach lining healing. And the mallow sylvestris, I especially like near farmlands, even if it is, I don't know how much that one would be in the forest, but I've definitely seen it, especially like more in like prairie kind of areas. So definitely, and that one you could use as a wound cover. And then also the leaves make a great tea. It's real neutral. I like to add it to other things. I add it to like sleeping teas. I'll add it to like nourishing teas. It's kind of one of those that kind of bulks up, because a lot of other herbs that are really strong, I just put a little bit, but then with the mallow, I'll put a lot to kind of as that filler. So, and raspberry leaf is another good one for that, to kind of, as a filler. So yeah, we'll go to the next slide. Oh, I was gonna see if anybody had any questions or comments or experiences with these plants they wanted to share.
Cari, this is Bev. One of the things with the common mallow that I found really great is when you find the common mallow and are able to add it into things like stir fries and some of the other ones, it's a really nice, hearty kind of plant to add in there. And I really think that one is a great one to research and to be able to harvest, because it's not one that's really endangered or upsetting the environment to be able to take some of it. And you can take a handful and be able to put it into something that you're cooking, and it makes a good filler.
Yeah. I had some that was growing wild in my greenhouse, and I threw some in my, I think I had like kale and some mallow, some canola greens, and it turned out really good. And they have that mucilage property. So, the little nutlets, it's a great snack, just kind of gives you a little bit of energy, really moisturizing. It has those like omega-3s or omega-6, I forget which one. And you'll find it once you know it, you'll see it. You'll start to notice it. Because the ones that grow wild in the forest, I see, in urban environments too. So there's a lot of overlap. Yeah. Did anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, I guess we'll keep on keeping on then. So this next one is catnip and catmint. I did find catnip. I was in Evergreen. I was near Evergreen. I found a lot of chamomile and catnip. And that was kind of cool. Catnip has really soft leaves. It's a lot larger. It can grow up to 4 feet. Usually I see it around 3 feet tall. And the catmint is shorter growing, drought resistant. I just saw that one. I was in San Luis on a hike up on the stages of the cross with the sculptures, and it was hot, hot. You know, the only thing around was sage, like the sage bushes and the chicos, and then I saw catmint. Yeah, and there was another plant I saw that I found at Ruthie's, but I forget the name. But I was really impressed with that catmint because it can be very drought tolerant. And that one I usually use for daytime anxiety, and then catnip for like nighttime anxiety. And it can also help with fibromyalgia, and it's, you know, the catnip is unnerving. So usually it's, you know, I throw it in with chamomile is nice with catnip, or I'll put some lavender or lemon balm. Roses would be nice with catnip. So that one I definitely, and usually with catnip, as far as harvesting goes, they grow really big and they do disperse themselves. They're very good seeders. They're very good, and they're perennials, so they come back. You know, like they have the roots that survive the winter. So that's one that you can harvest without damaging the plant, and actually you can help the plant. And sometimes plants actually can benefit from being like pruned down. Like this morning I was harvesting some alfalfa for an order, and in the rain the alfalfa had fallen over, and like harvesting it is actually going to give it a second life. And catnip's definitely one of those that you could harvest and have it totally grow completely back, and without you harming it. So like the plant on the right is catnip with the white flowers, and the purple one is the catmint. So you have Cataria and Fassini. I don't know why Fassini has so many A's and so many S's and so many I's, but it does. But I do, they are different plants. It is hard on the internet, or like even in books, I find that they often confuse each other, and they often don't distinguish them very well, even though they are different plants, but they're both Nepetas, so they're both in the same family. But the one on the right, significantly taller, significantly larger leaves. I find it attracts cats even more. The catnip, they just go crazy. Like there's 2 cats at the farm park, and they just are all over that catnip. But yeah, so I guess I should go till like 5:30. So I'll do maybe like 2 more plants. What do y'all think?
Sounds good.
Is that good? Okay. Oh yeah, here's the catnip. I got the large, this is a picture that I took of the one that I found in Evergreen, because I was so excited. I never found it in the wild, and I've always grown it. So it was kind of exciting. I did harvest a little bit, but I didn't harvest a lot because there wasn't too many around. So we'll go to the next slide. So dandelion and burdock, these two are just, you have to know dandelion and burdock. So dandelion and burdock are amazing detoxification plants, especially for your liver and your kidneys. So the springtime, you really want to get a hold of some dandelion and burdock. Dandelion leaves are amazing to eat, especially this time of year. You can cook it with your spinach, chop it up, you know, saute it with butter. You can throw them in soups. Salads, some people don't like to eat it fresh. Sometimes I crave it, especially in the spring. I will just like munch on it. But some people don't, you know, have an aversion to the bitters. But if you can handle it, or you can harvest the root. And usually with dandelion, it's so prevalent that it's not in any danger of being endangered. So that's good. And I will harvest the root, chop it very thin, unless you have a dehydrator. If you have a dehydrator, you can run it pretty much on the lowest setting for about 2 days, 10 hours up to 24 hours, I guess I would say. Or you could cut it really, really thin and have it in a hot place that's in indirect sun. So you could put it like in a covered box or a paper bag or in a dark corner. And the burdock, same thing. Burdock, when you harvest it, you get quite a large root. You'll be surprised how deep and how large that root really is. I know you're supposed to like do it like the second year in the spring. Like if you want to eat the burdock, like a carrot, because if it's too like fibery, like the last time I got it was really fibery and it had swamped out. Like I went, because the first time I harvested it was really good harvest, and then the second time I think it had overwintered and it got spongy and kind of fibery, but it wasn't horrible. Like as far as tea goes, I still really enjoyed it. I don't mind harvesting the second year ones since they're biennial. So like really it's the end of that plant's life. And then I disperse the seeds. The seeds are those cocklebur looking, pokey, Velcro-y, gets all over you. Those are the seeds. I disperse the seeds and then I harvest the plant that's older, which, they say that there's more medicine in the younger ones, which I agree with, but for harvesting purposes, I actually felt better harvesting the ones that had already lived their life. And then I dispersed the seeds, and that was my way of not over harvesting. So, and you can see the plant on the left is the large burdock in the wild. They're beautiful. They have those purple flowers that turn into the seed, huge leaves. But usually it's the root that you're going to use. I'm also experimenting with using it for fertilizing my plants. So I have like a 10-gallon vat that I soak the burdock, like the really spongy ones that I couldn't use for medicine. I soak those and then I give that water to my plants. And the reason being, like dandelion, it is so nutrient dense. It's just so full of vitamins and minerals because it's pulling that out of the soil. And you can tell like the root is just so hardy and wonderful. It cleanses your blood. It's really good for people that are trying to cleanse from like heavy metals. It can be helpful. You do want to be careful as far as like if you're taking pharmaceuticals. If you're taking pharmaceuticals, I want to say serotonin things. I think you're not supposed to take burdock because it could make your body kind of try to get those pharmaceuticals out of your body. So it could cause like rashes and things like that. So I would recommend once you're off of the pharmaceuticals, then you could take burdock. So yeah, I think my time might be over so that I could give Dev some time to talk and for us to have some questions.
Sure, I can go ahead and do that. While we get the slide ready, I'll start to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the other co-owner for SLV Apothecary, and I'm an adventure herbalist. So I go to different places and collect plants kind of where they are. So whenever you're ready with the slides, just go ahead and put them on and I will start doing my thing. A little bit of a housekeeping. Both me and Cari are not doctors, we're herbalists. So we, any of the things that we say are just advice. They're not medical. If you want to go all the way to that first slide of me, it's bright orange and green. At the very first, there we go. Yeah, we're not doctors, we're herbalists. We just help people to take control over their own health. So any of the medical stuff that we're saying, we're doing it as a friend, not a doctor or a medical professional. Neither of us are medical professionals at all. And like I said, I'm an adventure herbalist. If you want to go to that next slide, that is a great slide of me in Arizona doing California poppies. So I go to where the plants grow in different environments, and I collect them to make medicine, as well as to eat them. I am a lover of the wild plants and the wild things. I find that the plants, if you go to where they grow different, in different environments, they have different medicinal properties that help to be able to pull out, take California poppy as an example. California poppy in southern Arizona has more of the constituents to be able to sleep, to help you sleep, where it is hot and dry. So that's where I go to collect those plants. I am very, very set on sustainably harvesting to make sure that the plants are going to be there for everybody in the future. I do tinctures and teas mostly with the plants that I collect for medicinal purposes. And I help different people to be able to take control over their health. If you want to go to that next slide about tinctures, and I'm pretty passionate about tinctures because you can take a little teeny bit of a plant and you can make a lot of medicine. So I usually will harvest, and we talked a little bit in the beginning of this about those rules for how much that you can take from the forest. I have never, ever, ever come even close to any of those limits on anything. I don't think that it's necessary for any of them. Even some of the ones that require a little bit more plant matter or for teas, really, you don't need to take a lot to be able to have a big impact on your personal health at all. It's something that you can just take a little bit. Tinctures are great because you can take them with you wherever you go, and you can, they're fairly easy to make. There's all kinds of videos online about how to make them. But basically what you're doing is you're extracting, just like a vanilla extract, you're extracting the medicinal constituents to be able to create a medicine. If you want to go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about tea. This is a tea that I made up in the forest a couple of weeks ago, and it is a tea with usnea, which is a really cool sort of plant that grows. They call it old man's beard. It's a really neat creaturey plant that grows on the trees, and it's one that takes a really, really, really long time to grow. So I don't take it while it's hanging on the trees. I only take it when it's on the ground, and you only need a little bit. Usually it's used kind of like an antibiotic. But I do a lot of tea because tea is another great way to extract those medicinal constituents and be able to use the plants in a way that kind of extends them. If you want to go to that next one, I'm going to talk a little bit about my rules for harvesting. So I really have some set rules that I follow. And one of them is that I need to know what I'm harvesting. So that's a super important part, is identification. Finding out exactly what you're looking for and going is really important. I often suggest people go into a foraging situation with someone who has found that plant before. A lot of times that's not necessarily something that you can do just because you don't know somebody else, but it is really important to be able to identify those properly. There are a lot of really good books out there, videos, if you don't have somebody to go with you, but you really do need to know what you're harvesting. That's super important. It is also important to be aware of when you're harvesting. Usually things like roots are harvested in spring or fall, when the and a lot of the roots is better in fall after the aerial parts have died off. But it's important to know when you're going to be doing it, and why you're going to be using it. If you're just going to be making a stir fry, it's really important to know, there's some really great stir fry plants out there. The yucca is blooming right now. And on that same note, it's really important to make sure that you're not damaging the future of the plants that you're taking from. The good way to do it is a little bit from each plant versus taking the whole plant that you're on there, versus taking the whole plant. I don't like it to look like I've ever been there. This picture below is actually a picture of before and after I've collected some nettles. The first picture is before I harvested. The second two pictures are after I harvested that area. And it is very difficult to see how much, and I was actually able to make about 5 months of medicine from the little bit that I harvested from that area, from those nettles, doing a tincture. That one was actually more of a oxymel, which is a honey and vinegar type of extraction, which is good with nettles because it holds on to a lot of the good content. Does anybody have any questions so far at all, or comments? Sounds like we are good. Let's talk a little bit. I only have 2 plants that I'm going to talk about today. Kind of wrap it up. I'm going to talk about nettles, which is that one that we just looked at. Nettles are super cool because they have all kinds of different medicinal and culinary benefits. Nettles are kind of weird because they sting. And that is actually part of their medicine, and it's part of their thing. It's called urtication. And it is something that is really good to look into if you have things that are like inflammation or pain in areas, or areas that you can't feel very well, because urtication has been shown to bring more of the more circulation to the areas that it's applied to. And it sounds kind of crazy. So I know that's one that's not for everybody for sure. But the cool thing about nettles is if you cook them or if you dry them, that stinging part of the nettles is no longer there. And so you don't have to have that. And nettles are found everywhere, all over the world, really high up in altitude. And they are amazing, really strong in their ability to give you nutrients and to help you with things like allergies. A nettle tea is a really great thing for allergies to set overnight. These have been historically used for eating too, and are super tasty, super green. They have some really great things. The last one that I'd like to talk about is Oregon grape. If you want to just skip over California poppies, because we don't really have California poppies a whole lot in this area. So if you want to just go to that last one, this is the Oregon grape. And and it's in the berberis family, which is a really kind of, it's a large family, but it has some really great medicinal uses, not as many culinary uses, although some people do make jelly out of the little grape things. I don't find it super tasty. It's kind of a secondary a secondary emergency food source versus a food source. But this is one that you really want to be careful as you are foraging for this one and looking for it. It is really good for as a topical antimicrobial, and you can put it in things like salves or just put it into a really strong tea, and it helps things like MRSA or against bacteria. It's really good for if you have athlete's foot. So these are some really great, a really great strong thing that you can actually find up in our mountains, but has been having a lot of testing and scientific studies done recently on Oregon grape. It also has some really great bitter qualities. That's one of the things that is kind of missing from our American diets is that bitter, and it's why we have a lot of the stomach problems. So actually the Oregon grape's bitterness that it has is really good to help if you have sluggish digestion, if you have constipation or bloating or any of those really kind of rough problems from not being able to digest. Oregon grape is a really amazing plant for that, and is fairly easy to identify by its root. And when it has flowers, that's a kind of good indicator. Oregon grape, there's a whole bunch of different kinds, but we have the low growing Oregon grape here in our mountains, and its root is super yellow, and you can, and that's kind of that berberine. A lot of the herbs that have it in there are yellow, which is another good way to identify it. It also has some really great impacts in blood sugar. They've been doing a lot of testing on that as well. The last thing I'd like to just hit on just a moment, because I'm passionate about, if you'll go back to that second slide, it has a picture of my daughter on it. And it's something that I'm just going to hit on real quick because I have a passion about it, and that is our mountain osha. Now, osha is not something that we want to harvest a lot of, or unless it's totally necessary, or it's something that there's so much of it you can't see the end. This is actually an area that was going to be cut. The trees are being cut down to get rid of some of those nasty beetles, which is really great and a really great thing. But when you're going through there, a lot of those plants get dug up on there, and so we did a very small amount of osha on there. But I'm really passionate about the plants that we maybe should leave where they are and let them grow. And osha is one that it has been used by Native Americans and the people that have lived in this land for a really long time, and is often over harvested. People go up and abuse this one. And it is something that's near and dear to a lot of people's heart. I just want to implore everybody. Yes. So yeah, there are two species. Sorry, there is
Cari, do you want to go with the two species? I know the mountain one's the Portensi, but I could never remember what the common one that's down here is.
Oh yeah, so the common one,
Larvae
which
expression.
a lot of people who have it in Alamosa think they call it Osha, and they think it's the same plant, but it's actually Levisticum officinale.
Yes.
And that one is also known as like Garden Osha or Osha del Campo. And then the other one would be Osha del Sierra, which is Osha of the mountain. And that one's Ligusticum petori. So petori is the one that is around here. There's other Ligusticums and Levisticums. So they're in the same family, but they are different plants. The lovage or Levisticum officinale, which grows, at our altitude, 7,000. The Osha grows at 10,000. And the lovage has yellow flowers, where the mountain one has white flowers, and it's a lot smaller.
Right. And it's also really close to some other really poisonous plants. So it's super important to be able to identify. But I just wanted to hit on that there are a lot of plants out there that are available, medical and wonderful plants, but that should be left in the mountain unless we need them. And really careful. There's a lot of other plants, like the paleo mint is another one that grows quite a bit, is fairly easy to harvest, and is a great one for stomachs, great one for colds. And that one grows quite profusely. And so that one definitely is something that to look for as well. But I just wanted to hit real quick on those plants that we maybe should leave where they are, or very sparingly harvest. Does anybody have any questions? So I think that's about what I had.
So Dov, I have a question. Maybe this one's for Cari. I think you talked about the nettle or the yarrow, and as I'm out with the kids doing the 5th grade forestry class, there's a place where we've got a bunch of yarrow, and one of the things I've heard is I think you supported it. What I was thinking is that if you get the stinging nettle on you, I had been told that the yarrow plant is one that would help relieve some of that sting.
It does, but actually plantain is even better at doing that. And that's another one that is fairly common, has big, huge leaves, often found in grass. Yarrow will do it somewhat, but I would almost lean toward a plantain in an emergency situation for that type of thing. Yarrow is amazing in stopping bleeding, and has some antiseptic properties as well. So yarrow is a really good one for those type of things, but it doesn't take away the sting like some plantain would.
Fair enough. So that's one I got to learn. I know the yarrow, so all right, we got some questions.
I kind of concur. I concur on the plantain, and I also wanted to answer. Somebody had made a comment that, like, if everybody wild harvests, it's really not sustainable. But really, like, there is a way to do it sustainably, not to say that everybody will do it sustainably, right. But if everybody did, I think there is a way, because like I was saying, like when I reseed, I gather the seeds and reseed, like we are part of nature, and you can go out of your way to prune a plant and leave a plant that should not be harvested. And so it's a matter of being very aware of the environment, and there will be people that are going to take advantage of that, and that mostly happens when there's dollar signs. So, but when you're you know, when you're out camping or you're taking care of your personal health for that year, I think you can do it in a very sustainable way. You know, I've seen fields and fields of nettles where I didn't harm anything, you know. So I think there is a way to definitely do it sustainably. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I concur on that one. And I really feel like that a lot of times the way that you pick or harvest from a plant can help it to grow more as well. And so that's really important. An important thing to know is how to harvest the particular plant that you're going without harming it. Even doing OSHA, you can do part of the root versus the whole plant to be able to have that plant to be able to continue to grow.
Right. And like if you have a rosette, let's say you have a rosette of plantain or yarrow, you know, let's say there's 5 leaves growing out, you know, I won't I'll leave at least that much from the stem, and I'll make sure to leave at least, you know, just take 1 or 2 from each rosette so that that plant is really not harmed. The only time I'm really taking, like I was saying with the burdock, when it's already like lived its life, or like mullein is on its 2nd year, or like in mullein in its 1st year, I'll harvest some leaves, but that's mullein's going to grow back just fine. Like with pine sap, you know, like making sure you don't dig too deep into the bark, or like with birch, people do the birch drilling, you know, and just like, yeah, you have to be conscious, and but there's definitely ways that you could actually even help. You know, you could leave potentially, you know, a better situation than it was. So
Yeah. And Liz, we do some foraging outings sometime, and we do have kind of a garlic mustard locally. I have, and then additionally, I have done rose water with the like local wild roses. It does take kind of a lot of petals, but you can pick the petals without harming the plant, and make it so that there's still rose hips to be had afterwards for the wildlife.
oh yeah,
Well, thank
someone
you.
asked about a book, if there's a book we recommend, and Michael Moore is a good one. It really, all the books that I've gotten from Michael Moore, because he focused on like New Mexico and this area, Southern Colorado. He also incorporates a lot of the like the one book I have, I want to say it's Herbalism in the Southwest or something like that.
That
He
sounds
has
right.
the names of like in Spanish, and the native names and the English names and the botanical name, which is how I found out that paleo was brook mint, because I knew it was paleo, but I didn't know what the English word was. So yeah, I definitely recommend look up Michael Moore, Moore, and you'll find at least 10, 20 bucks.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot out there. Another one is going to be oh gosh, sorry, his last name is Kane. I had it and I lost it because I want to now call him Michael Kane, and that is not his name.
And then Brigitte Mars, you have that awesome book by Brigitte Mars.
Yes, she does some really great classes here in Colorado, and I've done a couple of classes with her for herbalism and foraging, and she has some really great books out there on the medicinal benefits of a lot of our plants.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Brigitte, Brigettete, I believe, and then Mars, like the planet, Mars. And then her partner is like a singer or like a rapper. And like she has like a wild weed song. It's on like Spotify and YouTube. And her name is Be Thy Love Light. Yeah. They're pretty cool. We went to they have presentation, like they do herb presentations, and I saw one at the Crestone Energy Fair, but I believe they live in Boulder.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They live in Boulder.
I couldn't find the mute button there. Hey, one quick question before we go. I believe Brandon asked it. It's about something about how important is species level versus genus level identification. Can you guys maybe talk to that real quick? Or is
Yeah,
that
I
a
think
real quick question?
um it depends on what you're using it for sure. I would say that it's important to be able to identify it as close as you can. There are some medicinally, a lot of times you'll have a plant that is really similar to each other, and they'll have very similar medicinal benefits, like the Osha of the mountains and our lovage. Those both have very similar medicinal qualities. The Osha of the mountains is quite a bit stronger on some things, particularly on helping with breathing capacity, so lung capacity, and some on the its ability to be a little bit antiviral. And so those type of things are important depending on what you are looking for. If you're just wanting to taste something, a lot of times the ones that are real similar, real close, are going to have the same taste or similar taste. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for it for.
Well, that almost sounds like a government kind of answer, Dove.
You know, those type of answers are sometimes the best type of answers.
Well,
Yeah,
all
I
right,
think
you guys.
with cultivation, I definitely noticed that I really do need to know, like for instance with the Augustaceae feniculum versus a different type of Augustaceae will have different leaves, and like, but I would say medicinally a lot of times it's similar constituents, just different amounts of the constituents.
All right. Well, we've come to, it's already 6:04, and I'd like to bring Kelly back on to advise us who is the winner of our door prize for the evening.
That would be Nancy. Nancy, if you want to put your address in the chat to me, I will send this book out to you as soon as I get a chance.
And Nancy, you can
Congratulations.
go ahead and just on the blue button, you can just go ahead and click San Juan Mountains Association. That way it's not available for everybody. And with that, though, I would like to thank our, where did one of them go? Oh, you just turned the camera off. Dove and Cari, thank you so much for coming on and being part of our Forest Specialist series. So glad to have you here. I probably could have been here for another hour, but we don't really want to do that. So yeah, again, on behalf of San Juan Mountains Association and the Rio Grande National Forest, everyone, thank you for joining on the Forest Specialist series. Kelly, who do we have next month? I forgot to look that up.
Rachel Hosna is going to be back next month, and she's going to be presenting about thistles. So kind of back in the same vein with the plants again next month.
That's going to be a lot of fun. So I did put in the chat there if you're interested in the Repo Roosevelt National Forest, the Community Connections. That is their Facebook event. I couldn't find their event page, but that'll at least get you in the right direction. And again, with that, I thank everybody for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.